Good morning, First Church and friends. This is Carolee Owens, your minister of music, once again telling you the story behind the hymn, Soon and Very Soon. Today's story is one of perseverance. Charles Tindley came from a childhood of poverty and servitude, but did not become bitter and discouraged. Instead, he found faith and chose to share Christ with others and start social programs to lift them out of poverty. He decided to help change others' lives as Christ changed his. I am reading from Then Sings My Soul by Robert J. Morgan. He calms the storm so that its waves are still. Psalm 107:29. Charles Tindley was born into slavery in 1851. My father was poor as it relates to this world's goods, Charles wrote, but was rich in the grace of God. He was unable to send me to school or keep me with him at his little home. It therefore became my lot to be hired out. The people with whom I lived were not all good. Some of them were very cruel. I used to find bits of newspapers on the roadside in order to study the ABCs from them. During the day, I would gather pine knots, and when people were asleep at night, I would light these pine knots, and with fire coals, mark all the words I could make out. I continued in this way, and without any teacher, until I could read the Bible. One day, Charles slipped into a church and sat in the back. When the preacher asked any child who would read from the Bible to come forward, Charles went to the front. He later recalled the odd looks that people gave him and overheard someone refer to him as the boy with the bare feet. From that moment, Charles resolved to gain an education. After emancipation, he moved to Philadelphia, and it was there in a Methodist church that he gave his life to Christ. His entrance into full-time ministry began humbly as the church janitor. My first plan was to buy every book I could, he explained. Then I entered by correspondence all the schools to which my limited means could afford. Thus, while I was unable to go through the schools, I was able to let the schools go through me. In 1885, he applied for ordination. One of the other candidates asked him, "How do you expect to pass your examination? The other candidates and I have diplomas. What do you hold?" "Nothing but a broom," was Tindley's reply. In 1902, Charles A. Tindley was elected pastor of the Bainbridge Street Methodist Church in Philadelphia, the church in which he was converted and where he had once served as a janitor. There were 130 members, but under Tindley's powerful preaching, the numbers grew, making it necessary to relocate. The congregation purchased a building from a white Presbyterian church and moved in, changing the name to East Calvary Methodist Episcopal Church. As large numbers of African Americans flooded into Philadelphia during World War I to take jobs vacated by whites who had left for the war, East Calvary Church mushroomed in growth. Tindley stood on the street corners sharing Christ and doing evangelistic work. Up and down this area, Tindley walked and talked about God's saving grace, wrote one biographer, sometimes individually and sometimes in small clusters, counseling and consoling. Tindley moved among the unchurched. Many cabbies were often aroused by Tindley for a shared moment of prayer. He came to be known as our preacher. He organized benevolence ministries and started a home loan program so that his poor parishioners could begin saving for houses. He established soup kitchens and opened the church to the homeless in cold weather. Charles Tindley was a striking man, standing 6'3" and possessing a strong, deep voice. Multitudes were attracted to Christ through his preaching, and the church was expanded until it held over 3,000 people. Even then, Tindley had to encourage members not to attend all the services so that guests could come. At the congregation's insistence, the church was renamed Tindley's temple. But in the wee hours of the Sunday appointed for the dedication, his wife Daisy died suddenly, and Tindley was unable to attend the opening. Such a prominent ministry also invites attacks, criticism, misunderstanding, and heavy burdens. Tindley once said, "It was when I was overburdened with criticisms, abuse, and hard and many oppositions, some of them from those whom I took to be my best friends, I wrote, 'Stand by me.' When the storms of life are raging, stand by me. When the storms of life are raging, stand by me. When the world is tossing me like a ship upon the sea, thou who rulest wind and water, stand by me." Tindley served Christ faithfully until he was in his 80s. One day in 1933, he showed up at the hospital. "How are you, Reverend?" asked the hospital director. "What can we do for you?" "I have come to die," said Tindley. He declined rapidly and passed away on July 26, 1933. All of Philadelphia mourned, but he was buried in an unmarked grave, for his church did not have funds for a memorial. Please pray with me. Dear God, we know you can calm the waters and will always stand with us. Help us to remain calm in trying times and know you are there, right beside us. May we not despair, but instead focus on others and how we can serve them. We know there are many needing your love and tender care. May we believe in Tindley's words to his church. We don't know what tomorrow will bring, but we do have hope. We do have God. We do have salvation. We do have faith. Help us to faithfully serve you as Charles Tindley did until the day he died. In Jesus' most holy name I pray. Amen. Please join us this Sunday for our online service, where you will hear Soon and Very Soon, sung by our men's quintet, Revival. Take care and have a wonderful weekend.